Hello, class, and welcome to our second lecture series on international finance. And I'm your instructor, Jamal Haider. So, in our previous class, we were studying the international flow of funds, and we finished our discussion in our previous uh, class regarding the transactions that increase the flow of capital or flow of funds. So our today's discussion is that how the outsourcing of trade or outsourcing on trade basically impacting the flow of funds. So the definition is pretty much you already know from different other subject what is outsourcing mean. So basically outsourcing is the process of subcontracting to a third party in another country to provide supplies or services that were previously being produced internally, right? So it means you were producing that good inside the factory, and now you realize that okay, producing that part is going to be very, very, costly for us. Why don't we import, or why don't we ask somebody else to make for us, right? So there are countries who are very specialized, high-tech countries, and who can produce that part of the product, and it's very easy for us to just take that part, us reassemble to our final product, and sell that one. In that way, we have the total control of our on our product rather than its parts, right? So, what are the impacts of outsourcing? Number one, of course, when you give contract to a third party in other country, what's going to happen? They're going to be increased international trade. You are importing, other countries exporting. Of course, there's going to be international flow of funds, right? So regarding all those Berlin Wall, European Union, and all those stuff, reducing the tariff, they increase the trade volume, trade activity. But also, if you try to outsource to the other country, then it also increase the international trade, right? Then another impact is lower cost of production or operations and job creation in countries with low wages. So while still different countries, they are importing parts from China, from Thailand, from Vietnam, from Korea, from even Russia as well, right? So there are many countries over there, the labor cost is, a little bit lower, or maybe the raw material over there is very cheap. So it's rather to import the raw material here, paying more taxes, transportation costs, and then try to develop here, then it's going to be a very costly for you. It's better to make the part over there and just assemble and then sell your core product. So by doing this kind of, doing this kind of stuff, our prime objective is to lower the cost. Plus, in indirectly sense, we are also supporting that country. So many, economists, international economists, or those who are working with the World Bank, this kind of big institutions, IMF, they are of the view that okay, if right now if we see the condition for America and China, so they are of the view that okay, we help China right now. If the China is doing having so great progress, it's because of us. Why? Because we give our technology over there to help them to having like creating a job over there, and now you are on that side of the world who are on the brink of announcing as we are developed nation. Okay, still China is a developing nation, right? So indirectly, basically, when you give contract to the other country as a country, basically you are helping them, right? So we have a famous example of Apple. Still yesterday the Apple announced its Apple 13, which is very good as well. I'm not doing their marketing, but just going to give you the piece of information. So they are designed in California. right? Silicon Valley. And they are giving instruction here to the Chinese factory to make that design, make that happen in real life. And then they are selling from China to other parts of the world. This is also outsourcing. Now, the criticism of outsourcing, the biggest criticism is that the importing countries or that country who give outsourcing contract, he will lose the job, right? So if the iPhone is going to be produced in America, so American economy going to be go up. Why? Because people are going to be having a lot of jobs, right? So guys, I need your participation. Whether this is good criticism or bad criticism. What do you think about the impact of outsourcing? It is good or it is bad? With perspective of the country who is giving other country the contract. Kathleen, what do you think about that?
I think it's sort of good and bad. I think it depends on like the country and like their economy. So maybe the United States, they're a very rich country, so it's good for them to outsource. What if it's a poor country? And maybe it's bad because maybe it's good if they keep the sourcing inside so they can build their own economy.
What do you think right now the condition of America? It is good?
With COVID to
No.
outsource?
The
Or just
job market in US.
Oh,
Pretty bad. I would say extremely bad. But even then, they are not moving their factory to China. Instead, the Tesla company, right? It is moving from US to China. Gigafactory, you can say that. So my question is whether this is a good move or bad move. With countries' perspective, not companies. Companies' perspective, we already know that. We talked about here with companies' perspective. But I'm talking about countries' perspective.
I think for countries' perspective is bad.
Okay.
Bad because why? It's bad because the factory is moving out from their country. And then when they are outsourcing later, it's going to be more expensive for the people to buy this.
What about the taxes?
Yeah, the taxes will force the company to be out of United States, I think.
It is no, for a country. If, for example, the Apple Corporation, they earn a lot of money here, but they need to remit that yuan to the US. Government got the taxes. If government is having a lot of taxes, he has a lot of money to initiate charity works, public works, for good of like health insurance and all those stuff. So what do you think in country's perspective? We are just looking one side that, okay, we are going to reduce the jobs. What about its overall perspective? You need to connect the dots, right? Anyone else?
It's bad. Because, for example, in China, most of the GDP that generate in China right now, it's come from like the inside, like just only based on China. They did not rely on like international that much. So it's good for China that they rely on internet, like internal.
Okay, Dot, I need to correct you on the definition of GDP. GDP is geographically located. So GDP is basically whatever you earn inside the boundaries. While GNN is basically all the nations, whether the nation is working outside or working, somewhere else in America. So Chinese working in America, Chinese working in Vietnam, in Korea, all their income added to GNP. So GDP is basically country's income inside the boundary.
Oh, okay.
Right? Okay. So you think it's bad?
Still? Oh, I said it's bad.
Sorry, teacher. There is I will say there is a slight difference. For example, if you say that they outsource and it's a contract between a third part, maybe it's bad. But if they delocalize, so they actually built a factory over there and hire people, they will still pay less, but this goods is associated to link to the I will say not the domestic product, but the for example, when we have like how do you say this? FDI, foreign direct investment, is still linked not to the GDP, is another acronym, I forget the name, but
Mhm.
is like company, nationality, and related to the project. I forget what was the name, but it's also true later.
We call this GNP, gross
Yeah.
national product. GDP is gross domestic product. GNP is gross national product. So international transaction going to be included in GNP. So that is a macroeconomics concept. I'm not going to repeat here. So anyone else who want to contribute?
Sir, I think overall is good because in this case, US is outsourcing to China. That also means the price for the iPhone become cheaper for the local. And even though there are like job disappearings in US, but US can actually put their focus on what they are best at, like playing from their strengths. For example, financial service industry, like being more cost efficient or more efficient like overall.
Well done, Crystal. I think you should go to the international trade and finance stuff. That is a very appropriate answer and very good answer. So guys, you get the idea what Crystal said? Okay, the question is why we are outsourcing? Because producing that product is very costly inside the country. It means we are not efficient in that product, right? If we move that product to the other countries who is very efficient, then we can focus on our core specialization as a country. I'm not talking about the country perspective. So on that area, there are still a country has a lot of specialization. They can put that resources over there. So they're going to be less wastage of resources. And in other, for example, United States is very good in designing the company, having good service industry like banking, software, security, ammunition, this kind of stuff. So maintaining, or conquering the other, space, sea and land type of stuff over there. So they have a lot of technologies over there working. So since also, they are also building a project like SpaceX, NASA. They need a lot of enormous money to fund that one. So people now diverted their attentions toward working inside the manufacturing company. Rather, they would go to, work for this specialized institution in which America is well known, right? Plus, when you outsource, it's very cheaper for you guys. Like one student tell me that, okay, the price is going to be reduced in that country as well, right? So for the whole nation, it is good to buy the product at cheaper price, or it is good to buy the product at higher price. Of course, it is very good for the countrymen or buyers to buy the product at lesser price. So if that part is coming from other country and you are assembling here and you are reducing your price, in other sense, what you are trying to do. In the meanwhile, you are importing the product and you are selling at lower price. On the other hand, your export chances are also increased. Jordan, Fabian, understand what I'm trying to do? Not Florian?